And a jolly good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. And welcome aboard to Dreamy Dreamland with I, your Sensei Al Bob. And here it is, the day after Christmas, December 26th. And we had a big snowstorm here, and a friend of mine came and got me, so I wouldn't. Here it is, almost noon, and it's 8 degrees. It's kind of snug in his house, so I'm not even wearing a shirt because when I left my place and it started snowing, we got there quick so we could get here. And anyway, it's nice. We had a nice Christmas dinner. It was nice, and had good times, good company. Shared this with my friends, and so that was nice. And I just wanted to touch base with you guys and wish you a happy everything. And so I have a myriad points of view swirling around. I mean, when I'm in the deep green, I'm all by myself. Hey, there's two of you there. Good morning. Good evening. Welcome aboard to Dreamy Dreamland. I'm staying at a friend of mine's for Christmas. And it's just a couple folks here, but a whole bunch of people are going to show up. So I might just snowshoe it back to my place, or I might not. It depends on the vibe of the scene. So far, it's been really great. I've been here for a couple of days because it got really cold. It's been really kind of nice up until the beginning of this week. It's been in the 50s during the day and in the 30s at night, and I can handle that. But the last, the day before Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day, and today, it's like been in the O's at night and in the teens during the day, even with the sun. I mean, in the sun, if the wind isn't blowing, it's okay. You're in the shade, it's cold. The wind's blowing, ooh, it's really cold. So anyway, and that's life. Some days it's hunky-dory, other days it's a little nippy, And so we're heading into 21. We really only have, 5 days? Next Friday will be New Year's Day, right? Next Thursday will be New Year's Eve. So here it is Saturday. So less than a week. And 20 and 20 will be gone. But 20 and 21 will be here. And before my friends came and got me, the night before Christmas Eve, I read Dickens' Christmas Carol. I guess that was, when was that? Thursday? Wednesday? Somewhere around there. And Dickens wrote it to be read like in less than an hour, right? And it's an amazing, well-structured tale about a man who was, a nice guy, nice kid, and it showed the progression of him becoming, a scumbag because at, his age or whatever it was, all he cared about was money, right? He left the love of his family. He left the love of his love. He left the love of his friendships, and he gave it up, right? And so his partner, who was his friend, who also became a scumbag so they could share scumbagness, and then his friend died. Marley was dead. In the beginning, Marley was dead, deader than a doornail. So every time I read that, I cry because it shows that the progression of a man down into the dumps and then out. And it takes him his whole life to get to be a scumbag. But in one night, being visited by the past, present, and future, he changed himself into, the best man who ever celebrated Christmas. And that's what everyone said, right? So that's a Christmas Carol. So that's what we got a choice. We can be Marley, the scumbag, or we can be Ebenezer, the man who celebrated Christmas the best than any minute ever celebrated Christmas. So what do you want to be, right? Here we are, the three of you. Let's have some comments. It's a live chat, so let's hear from you. Here we are, less than a week to 2021, and here I am out in the middle of nowhere with no, I have no TV, no nothing, no access to anything, and in a cold box, and all I get is the shortwave late at night and the bounce of the AM radio. So my perception is, Donnie is going to try and do something, 2 to 4 to what he's done the last 4 years. I mean, when he becomes president, he'll be more presidential. Not really. And I won. And he probably, who knows, he got 74 million votes. That's more than So he's got a lot of followers. He tells everyone, that 74 million people, get your guns and go shoot people. What are we going to have? And so the last few days I've had kind of access to the internet at my friend's house. He's got a satellite dish and all that. And I'm seeing all these people talking about, in Marshall, blah, 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 blah. All I know is I know nothing, right? And all I know is whatever people think is going to happen, that's not what's going to happen. It's always the unexpected consequence. So who knows? But it could be pretty wild and crazy, right? And, the virus is mutating and who knows what's, I don't believe anything, right? Period. But it's kind of amusing. It's like, reading a comic book is kind of amusing, So, in my new hairstyle. And so I took my first shower since last May. He has hot water, and I took my first shower since last May, meaning you don't really have to shower and bathe all the time, kids. Your body, when we were cavemen, we didn't have showers, So, we had this big hack, right? And, they got into the solar system of the internet, and pretty much it's like the virus. Everyone's infected. And so my sense is, as of the new year, the first month, there's a good perspective that the internet will come crashing down. No one will be able to talk to anyone on social media. That half of the electronics, because if the internet goes down, what's going to happen to, cable TV? Don't forget that. What's going to happen to and all the, TV networks, forget about it, because they depend on the internet. So it's going to be interesting. And so we have a shot at, de-evolving, going totally Devo, right? And, chewing on each other's legs. Or we can be our better angels. So I'd love to hear from the three of you. What's your New Year's A resolution to be your better angel? What you would like to see in 2021, right? Let's see it. And what's really interesting, I was talking to some friends in Australia. How much the Australian government has given its citizens, during this pandemic? Individually, every citizen in Australia has received at least $25,000 American. And they're like, it's a big thing to give you $600. It's like, so around here, people either starving, they don't have any, their electricity has been turned off, and up until, the pandemic, January, February, March, April, around May, the utility didn't turn your juice off. But as of May, if you didn't pay your back electric bill, they turned you off. So a lot of people couldn't do that. And they do have a very nice thing. If you pay half your electric bill, they won't turn you off. So I've been doing that and then putting another $10 to check off. So I'm not in the hole by a lot, but could be, and if the electricity goes off on Sensei Al Bob, wrapped in my electric blanket, I'm pretty toasty. No electricity, I'll be an ice cube. I mean, it's right now 18 degrees outside. And last night it was 28 degrees below zero. Celsius. It's like, what? And luckily, this place is, got Pella windows and insulated nice, and we had a fireplace, and I cooked dinner, and it was all good. But in the 3 days I was here, the electricity went off in the whole county 5 times. It's snowing, branch falls on line thing. Right? And most places are wired like a tennis racket. So if one wire goes out this way, it gets fed from other directions, not us. We have one wire coming in and that's it. And everyone's off it. So anywhere along that line, a tree falls on it, the whole freaking this side of the county loses its electricity. And it's not just us, because we're right in this corner where there's 3 other counties. There's 4 counties. There's a place up on top of the hill, not on a road, but on one of the log roads. I can go and I could put my 2 feet in 2 different counties. And if I was about 12 feet tall, I could put it in 4 counties and 2 states. So, I'm in one of the more squirrelier neck of the woods, and that's why I picked this place. And there is a chunk of iron that goes from Toronto all the way down to Georgia, right? Kind of on the Appalachian Trail. And where we are the accordion between the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains. And some of those big ice shelves were like, doing this. Well, that's why we have all these, sawtooth mountains. And that's why our weather is really squirrely. That's why we're either 20 degrees colder than any place else or 40 degrees warmer than any place else. And most of winter, the surrounding 40 miles around us get a lot more snow than we do. And we had a big snowstorm, and we got maybe 4 inches. And so this is a interesting lesson a week to contemplate what you're going to do with your life. So now this is 2 of you. So come on, let's have some thumbs on. Let's, for 2021, let's get Dreamy Dreamland over 1,000 subscribers, because then I could use my phone, right? And I wouldn't be stuck with my thing here, right? And then I could drive around and do, live chats from almost anywhere, like I did in the beginning. And then they changed the rules, and they said, you got to have over 1,000 subscribers to use your phone. Otherwise, you got to use a laptop. So then I was given this laptop, and it's, has its limitations, but at least, thank you very much, I can do this, right? And I've been writing. So if you go to xratted.blogspot.com, you can read my writings, and I'm working on my newest novel called Legend, right? And I am now at copy 9D, right? And so I have number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on 6 I have 6A, B, C, D, and then I have 7A, B, C, D, 8A, B, C, D. So when it says you can make a copy, so my screen where the toolbar is, it says copy, 9D. Anyway, so what's on X-Rated is Legend, like 1 or 2, right? And how I write is I take things from my clipboard, that I kind of everyday journal on for myself, and I cut that and I paste it on a page, right? And so I said, okay, new novel. After I finished Legacy, and I didn't finish Legacy, I kind of got it as good as I could get it at the moment. It's not done. I still kind of need some editing and maybe some editing, but I was done with it at that moment, and that was like in July, and I started Legend. I've been looking on this thing since then. And so Legend is about, we have our hero, Pluggy Boom Boom, and it's like all our relations. So everybody, all the different characters in the novel are basically the same person, just different personalities, like split personalities, right? And that's what we as a society have done to ourselves. We have, broken the mirror of our ourselves, and we're this, a sociopathic entity. I mean, that's where we are right now. It's like the COVID and every other, all the wars and everything else that has been going on since the year 2000. What does it really show us? It shows the unbelievable incompetence of the human race to administer itself, because the hidden hand, the powers that shouldn't be, their only motivation isn't for the betterment of anybody but themselves, right? So I was watching Chris Hedges last night when I went to bed, and I said, "Oh, look, my phone, I can watch Chris Hedges." So I watched Chris Hedges, right? So, and Chris is like right on. He's been a journalist, so he's been watching the human race de-evolve for the last 30 years. And his father was a minister, and he watched, he was going to be a minister, but he ended up as a guy who he worked with Wall Street Journal and et cetera.
I'll begin, I think, by talking a little bit about what happened in the United States on Tuesday, because it relates directly to the thesis of this.
And this is when Obama was still president.
What we saw was the beginning of the empowerment of the lunatic fringe.
And Donald Trump hadn't even said, "I'm going to be he hadn't come down the escalator yet.
I blame liberal institutions for the downward spiral of the American political system. The pillars of the liberal establishment, the press, the liberal religious institutions such as the church, culture, universities.
So Chris lays it down for everybody.
Unions, and finally the Democratic Party itself.
And this is when Obama's president, when he's speaking.
Willfully distorted themselves for corporate money and essentially abandoned basic liberal tenets, basic liberal values that make a functioning democracy possible.
That's why Democrats, Republicans, liberals
process. It began, one could argue, Dwight McDonald, the great anarchist, would argue, with World War I, where American progressive movements and American socialism ran into the rock of what became permanent war. As many of you know who have studied American history, the war which Wilson dragged the United States into, many people argue because, of course, the huge loans that had been extended by bankers to Britain and France would of course not be repaid if the Germans won the war. Was not a popular war. And Wilson built the first modern system of mass communications, mass propaganda, through the Creel Commission or the Committee of Public Information.
Bernays,
which
Freud's nephew.
Disciplines, cross lines. It not only had its own news service, it had its own film division. It employed graphic artists. It employed some 45,000, they called them 3-minute men, who would go around to public venues and give short talks in support of the war. And that, coupled with the Sedition Act and the Espionage Act, effectively silenced any kind of dissent, any kind of opposition to the war.
World War I, Woodrow Wilson.
Committee of Public Information, which included figures like Edward Bernays, who wrote the great classic work on modern propaganda called Propaganda, employed the Freudian techniques, or an understanding of Freud. Bernays was actually a double nephew of Freud from both sides of his family, to appeal to emotion.
And Bernays went on to
understood that it wasn't fact,
assist the Council on Foreign Relations, Trial Commission, all of those guys. United Nations.
As soon as the war was over, two things happened. One, all of the people who had been part of the Creel Commission and the Committee for Public Information went straight to Madison Avenue. And it's not coincidental that one of the seminal texts for Goebbels in the rise of the Nazi movement was Bernay's book Propaganda.
Right. And they looked at what we did with the American Indians to deal with the Jews and the people they didn't like. We gave them the term final solution because that's what we called it, what we did with the American Indians.
Through public relations industries that began to serve corporate interests and the government. Bernays, for instance, was hired by the CIA to produce the propaganda to justify the 1954 coup d'etat in Guatemala, the overthrow of the Arbenz government. But we also established.
And you look up James Buchanan, he was an economist, got a Nobel Prize.
And McDonald, I think,
he was
points out
Koch and the Rockefellers. He's the guy who brought on Jim Crow and who did that thing in Colombia and Chile. And he got a Nobel Prize for writing an economic treatise that only rich deserve the money.
Espionage and the Sedition Act that was used to break the remnants of the socialist movement.
The Union
after
movement.
The end of the war, 1919. So you had
they went from the Germans to socialists to unionists to what we got today.
Mass communications could saturate the culture with lies, skillfully
fake news,
used to manipulate and control.
And he's saying this before Donald Trump even showed up.
Fear, coupled with this search for internal enemies, and
the Mexicans,
with the breakdown
the Arabs.
of capitalism in the 1930s, we saw that final resurgence of the American left, including the last gasp of the American Communist Party,
which was the Union movement,
and
the Wobblies.
With the breakdown of capitalism, many prominent reformers at least flirted with communism. This became, in the years afterwards, a way to drive them out of the mainstream of American society, to turn them into marginal outcasts. The liberal institutions were complicit in this. The ACLU, the AFL-CIO, which was soon lending its services to the CIA itself in terms of its relationships with labor unions, both in Europe and Latin America, the universities, the witch hunts within the universities. So that, in essence, what happened
That's what I love
is the
about Chris
liberal
Hitchens.
Drove
He's
out
straight up what's
from
going
within their
on.
midst
And he's got it documented down.
those figures who had the courage and the moral commitment to remain fast to moral imperatives. They in essence cannibalized and weakened themselves. This was a process that went on for decades, of course, but by the age of globalism had essentially rendered, I think, most of these institutions impotent. The danger is that the liberal class or liberal institutions, while certainly complicit with the power elite, also within mainstream systems of power provide a mechanism or a channel by which incremental or piecemeal reform is made possible.
That doesn't do anything.
So with the breakdown of capitalism in the 19th.
Okay. And so what we got, we don't have capitalism. We have a crony, plutocratic state. Where the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, right? And the best we have is to be distracted by consumerism. And, Chinese aren't our enemy. They're basically barely keeping themselves afloat, and they don't want to have war with us because the only reason why they are doing as good as they're doing is because we buy all their crap. If they had a war with us, they would be bankrupt in weeks because we wouldn't be buying their shit, so. And so the audience is going, oh, well, we got back to 2. So nobody has anything to say. Nobody has any idea what's going to happen in the next few days when 2021, when 2020 becomes 2021, right? And, what do you want from life? What do you want? What do you want to see in your own life, Because it's up to you. I mean, Chris right there, he was going on and on about it. And so here we are. We're at a place where it's a beautiful, look at that. It's just beautiful. This is like a Christmas postcard, right? And we're at, I'm here. I've been here a whole year. I'm out of harm's way as much as you can get, And luckily I have friends around, it's too cold, come stay in our warm house for a day or two until it gets warm again. So, and I'm like a meal left on the kitchen counter, it's pretty tasty to begin with. And then, it starts to smell and it's an acquired taste. And at a certain time, get out. And luckily I have my little box to go to. And, tomorrow it's allegedly going to be in the 50s and all next week supposed to be, some days are going to be in the 60s, but every night's going to be in the 30s. Every night's going to be, semi-cold, not cold like it has been the last few nights. But anyway, so that's it. And unless, here we're coming up on 30 minutes. And so at 30:30, I'm going to dive off. But, it's the day after Christmas and it's a couple of days before New Year's. So I wanted to say, so who's there? Who's there, buddy? Here is Sammy. Sammy is the sweetest little guy. He's so sweet. And his owner is a really sweet guy, too. You can always tell a lot about the owner of a dog. If the dog is really nice and sweet, well, the owner is. So anyway, because in reality, a human doesn't own a dog. The dog takes care of the human, pretty much. And it's a pack, And the human and the dog, it's like, I've always been a boy with his dog. So here it is, 27 minutes and 27 seconds. And at 30 minutes and 30 seconds, if people aren't chiming in on the live chat, I'm going to go on and do other things. But I just wanted to wish you a happy everything. And I had a great Christmas. All we did was share fellowship. We had no real, they shared the house. I shared my cooking. It was very nice. We shared each other. So how about some more thumbs up? How about you guys go visit the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, and throw something into my my PayPal. That would be nice. Hopefully I have enough money to pay the electric bill. This, I just made this electric bill with a few pennies to spare, and I won't have to pay the next electric bill until the end of January. So be nice if you guys threw something in there. Go to my xratted.blogspot.com and give that a look. Look at my novels, my essays, etc. And you can look at when I'm writing Legend. And but that's the early on version. But it's still pretty much what the novel is. I'm just editing and adding things here and there. But pretty much all of the meat of the matter was on the clipboard before I started. Now I'm like just moving, I'm like James Joyce. I'm a cut and paste man. I'm moving the stuff around. And I probably still have another 5 or 6 versions before I'm somewhat satisfied to let someone else edit this thing. So that's where I'm at. A few people have read it and said, "Oh, that's pretty interesting stuff you got there, Sensei Al Bob." And so here we are at 29 minutes and 38 seconds, and no one has said anything on the live chat. So at 30:30, I'm heading to something else. So it's a beautiful day. Get out there and enjoy it. Go look at my xratted.blogspot.com, my Griot Publishing. Go take, if you want to talk to me personally, go to my thedudeawake42 at Gmail. And you might throw something on the old PayPal. And I would go look at all the rest. I have over 1,000 shows, right? And I think, if the better part of our angels does not come forth, the internet is going to go down. So I would, if I was you guys, I would go get, your thumb drives and your hard drives and your CD-ROMs and pick out the top 10 that you like, or copy them all. I would love it if there was some, other than the cloud, a place where my shows can, be watched by somebody other, right, than AI. Not to say I don't love you, AI. I do. And happy everything, buddy. And okay, here we are. We're coming up on 30:30, and no one said anything yet. So a few more seconds from now, I'm gonna jump off here. Look forward to seeing you. I will try this week before New Year's. The 1st of January is this coming Friday. New Year's Eve is this coming Thursday. So if the snow melts, right now I'm not going anywhere. It's like ice skating rink up there. So I'm not going anywhere but tomorrow's supposed to be 50. Monday is supposed to rain. So it should be all cleared away. So, okay. Till then, I love you.